What's going on, you guys? Theo here with the big review, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video, and we have so much information to go over today. It is not even funny. There has been new information that has been dropping all through the night and into the morning here, and there are a lot of positive updates you guys are going to want to hear about, including how long we are going to have the SS banner around, reruns on the BS banner, all sorts of news. But before we get into it, like, share, and subscribe. It helps me out a ton as a new YouTuber. We currently have a giveaway going on. Link will be in the description. It's a subscriber-only giveaway, so you'll want to take part in that if you want to nab yourself either a Google or an Apple gift card of your choice. So, as we jump into this news here, first thing I wanted to lead off with is obviously going to be the Ruby codes, because you only have until the maintenance tonight to redeem these. So if you've not already done so, make sure you redeem these. This is 1,000 rubies that you will be netting yourself if you do. Make sure that you do this before the maintenance. There's some other things like the Valentine's event shop going away today as well. Make sure you do that. But there's so much other information to go over. I felt like I just needed to throw that in here. But a couple of things that I want to talk about first and foremost. Last night's Global Livestream, if you haven't already heard, was a giant disaster. It was horrible. For whatever reason, as you could tell there, I don't know if Baphomet decided that he himself was going to be the new host for the King of Fighters All-Star Global Streams or what, but Travis just, I don't know, he was on something yesterday. But this screenshot here basically shows you guys what the new home screen is going to look like without the holiday theme. Looking really, really sharp. As you can tell up there at the top, the Lady Chang roulette we talked about yesterday is confirmed, as well as perhaps maybe a dice game down the road, but we'll have to wait and see on all that. These developer builds, you never know. Other things that were confirmed, the Lady Chang and the Lady Clone Zero buffs have been confirmed. Overall with these, and I wasn't able to get a ton into my opinions on all of this stuff with the updates yesterday from the streams because I was busy giving you guys the translations and the news, but Lady Chang should be very strong with this update. I'm very happy with what they did with her. She's a character that doesn't get a lot of attention, so it's nice to see these buffs. We'll take a full look at these when they drop officially, when we do our Should You Summon for the SS banner. We'll go over all this, but Lady Clone Zero, she is a fairly balanced character as it is. I don't know that this is necessarily going to make her that great, but she's decent, and it's definitely welcome whatever they decide to do with these characters. But moving on, Pve Co-Op Showcase. They did show us a little bit of more information on the Global Livestream. Again, it was a 30-minute live stream that was scheduled to be an hour. It was a giant waste of time, to be honest with you, but we did get some new information here, at least in part. So there's going to be a hard and an expert difficulty for the Pve Co-op. I'm very excited for this, as I've said in the past, so that I can be able to kind of do these co-op events with you guys as well as my fellow YouTubers. So that is an exciting turn of events for me with this. But as you can see here, this is going to be your lobby screen. Not a whole lot for us to kind of glean from this other than the fact that we already knew it was going to be a 3v1 mode that is very similar to some of the relay challenges, where you'll be able to invite up to 2 of your friends or to pair up with 2 random players and go in and take these down. From what it looks like with the CP requirements, these are not going to be that difficult. So overall, this shouldn't be anything that is too crazy, but I am excited for it. And like I said, whether it's through the Discord or otherwise, I will be coordinating with my viewers as well as other YouTubers to do some of this content together, because I think that would be a lot of fun. It is in a beta phase though, they did mention that, so definitely give them feedback on the forum if you feel like going on the forum. Yeah. So anyway, arguably the biggest thing that was given away yesterday is going to be this Billy Cain event. This Billy Cain event will not be part of this upcoming update. This will actually be dropping on March 11th. However, there is some really cool information here. Now, if you can't already tell just by looking at this, it's going to be pretty similar to any other team relay challenge where you're going to have your teams of 3 that you can take in. This one's going to be open to any characters between cost of 15 to 65, so pretty much any character you want to bring in you can take with you, and this shouldn't be anything too overly difficult, although I will say Billy does tend to, as you'll see from some of the footage here, move around quite a bit, and that tends to be a little annoying, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure it's not going to be that difficult, even though the GOAT makes it look way more difficult than it actually is. But the one big thing to take note of, if you look at the description of this, you will notice, eagle-eyed viewers may see that it mentions a 2001 Kim Kafwan. Well, for those of you who are not aware, we do not have a 2001 Kim Kafwan currently in the game. So there is every chance in the world that this is a leak, and there will be a 01 Kim added into the game, whether that is a FES character or a Gold Border character, we do not know, but we do know that there should be some form of new Kim added into the game at some point in the very near future as a result of what we are seeing here. But this is going to be the actual dungeon itself, and like I said, it's not going to be anything too surprising overall, as you can tell, but it is going to be worth noting that this Billy Cain, like I said, tends to kind of run around like he's had way too much caffeine. So yeah, he's hopped up on something, don't know what, but it's probably going to be more annoying than it is difficult from what I could tell from this. Now, like I said, the goat, and credit to him, I mean, it must be tough for goats to play video games with hooves, but at the same time, yeah, he was definitely just kind of mashing buttons for the sake of mashing buttons, and there didn't seem to really be a rhyme or reason to this. So this was about this is a good indicator of how the stream went, to be honest. It was a mess, and it really did not sit well with the community, to be honest with you guys. It was very tough to get through. Like I said, it was almost like a fever dream. It just, I don't know what Travis was thinking. I really don't. And I mean, I kind of feel bad for him to an extent, because you could kind of tell. I mean, you could see the sweat just dripping and pouring out from below that mask and down his shirt and down onto the table. It was disgusting. The whole thing was just a mess. And overall, I think that that's kind of the prevailing thought on this stream, is it was just lazy. They ended it in 30 minutes. Like I said, it was scheduled for an hour. You know, I've said this already, but if you're somebody who was getting off work late or something like that, you intended to catch like halfway through the stream, catch the rest of it, all this did was just kind of blindside you and probably tick you off. And then they only give us 1,000 rubies, and Travis even mentioned that we didn't get as many viewers as we were hoping. Well, duh, of course you didn't, because you had half the amount of time that you ran the stream that you normally would. So to me, it's like, what do you expect? So yeah, I mean, overall, this was a train wreck, and this is probably the weakest global live stream we've ever had, but I digress. That's enough of me dogging on it. It is what it is. It didn't sit well with me, but yeah, so that's pretty much going to be what we need to know about this Billy Cain event. Like I said, again, it is going to be coming with a March 11th update that is to be announced, but overall, that's what we should be expecting with this part of the update coming in March. So you'll be able to see here, I'm not going to make you guys sit through his entire run, so I'm editing this down for time, because there's no reason to sit here and watch somebody poorly play this dungeon. I do want to show you guys, though. You'll see some of the rewards here, which it looks like are going to be halfway decent. We're getting some hammers, which are always well appreciated and wanted. So yeah, overall, something to look forward to. But moving on, other things. So we're going to talk about the SS characters real briefly here, but one thing I do want to point out before we get into it, there was a new trailer for these guys, and I want you to listen here. I'm going to play the music because this is the original Doom soundtrack, right? Yeah, so why they decided to use heavy metal music from the Doom franchise for a banner of characters that includes a lolly and arguably the most fan service female fighter from a fighting game franchise ever, I'll have no idea, but I digress. I just thought that that was funny and worth pointing out. But moving on now, we're going to talk about the SS characters as a whole, and this is where we start to get into kind of the details about this newest update from the Korean dev team. It looks as though, and I'm going to leave a link to this in the description of the video so that way you guys can look at it yourselves. Now, it is going to be in Korean, so you'll need to translate it. Luckily, I use Google Translate for this here, and we can go over the fine details, but basically, they put out a statement saying that there was some misinformation on the stream in the Korean version yesterday. It appears as though some of the information that they went over in that Korean stream was incorrect, which I don't know how that happens when you're pre-recorded, but I digress. So as far as what they say in here, there's some pretty big info. First and foremost, it looks like we are going to have the future Boss Syndrome banners as well as the SS banner coming up here are going to be on 2-week intervals, meaning that we are going to have not 6-7 days like we did with the original BS banner, but we are going to have 2 whole weeks with these banners in order to get memories and these characters, which is huge. This was the biggest critique that I had with this announcement for these SS characters, which we're going to get into, but the other thing that they talked about as well is, this is where we get into the misinformation from the stream. They did ask them in the stream if they were planning on rerunning the Boss Syndrome characters, and on the panel they did mention that they weren't planning on doing so. Well, they've backtracked on that, and they say that we will be getting a rerun of the Boss Syndrome banner, meaning we will be getting Boss Syndrome Omega Rugal and Boss Syndrome Orochi rerun at some point in the first half of 2021. They are vague on details as far as dates on that, but they say that they will give us a heads up when that is upcoming. So overall, this stuff just dropped. In fact, I've re-recorded the audio for this video like 3-4 times already today, and one of the main reasons why is because this happened to come out right as I finished. So yeah, it had to be done. But very positive news. These are things that I had complained about in the original edit of this video, so I'm glad to see. It's almost like they were sitting over my shoulder listening in. But yeah, this is good news, guys. For those of you who missed out on the Boss Syndrome characters the first time around and were hoping to get them on a rerun, or for those of you who are like myself who only have their Boss Syndrome Omega Rugal or Orochi at less than Awakening level 5, you will have the opportunity to do so. The other big thing about this, and this is where arguably the information is the most important, they mentioned that they are working on a way for us to get memories for SS characters and BS characters outside of pulling dupes. This is huge, guys. Like, this is the biggest complaint that we have had about this format for a long time. So now that we have confirmation that they realize, and they talk about how in the survey that they did, people complained about this quite a bit. Guys, this is where I'm going to start ranting. There's going to be a lot of ranting in this video on a lot of different subjects. So be forewarned, this is the start of it. This dev team, for those of you who like to say they don't listen to us, this dev team listens to us a ton. They take our feedback, they take these surveys, they even are deciding characters based on what we want now. Like, if there's not a whole lot more that they could do outside of just being more transparent as far as giving us more and more updates and just completely giving us the script for what they have planned for months in advance. Like, they are extremely communicative as far as what it is we want. Whether it's not going to happen overnight, they don't do things overnight, but they do get around to it, they do listen. This is another example. So this is very positive news. Now, speaking of positive news, we're going to get into my opinions of all of these updates and kind of wrap up my thoughts, because there's a lot to go over. Now, I'm going to focus mainly on the Korean live stream, because to be honest with you guys, the global live stream, as we've already covered, sucks. So as far as the Korean live stream goes, I want to start with the Q&A, and there's a couple things I want to get off my chest right off the bat. A lot of people are complaining about the fact that, and I'm assuming this is miscommunication because a lot of people watching that stream were global and do not speak Korean, took offense to the fact that they laughed when they were answering the question about the PvP servers and that, or the other. I've already confirmed this with Steven, who does speak Korean and can translate these things. They did not make a joke at the expense of anybody. They did not laugh at anybody asking the questions on the stream. They did none of that. Please stop nitpicking and being so defensive over every little detail as it pertains to this game, guys. They were making jokes amongst themselves, and they had been making jokes the entire time, and they were having fun, and just because you can't understand what they were saying, you're taking offense and assuming that they made a joke at your expense. That is not what happened. So please stop. It makes no sense. So beyond that, other things that were going on here, they had mentioned the fact that we are going to be getting no Awakening level 10 at any point in the near future. That has been ruled out. It is off the table. And I feel like this is a microcosm example of how many good things did happen in this stream that people completely glossed over for fear of things that they didn't even have confirmation on. You know, the bigger talking point coming out of this stream, to put it this way, should have been the fact that we are not going to have to live in fear of Awakening level 10 now, but instead we're worried about the fact that they joked around and laughed on a stream. Like, where is the sense in that? It doesn't make any sense. And I know a lot of people are upset that there isn't a collab, and this is where I'm going to be pretty harsh about this collab stuff. And I'm going to be honest. Whenever I talk about collabs, for instance, I am always very careful to say it could happen on this timeline, but do not be surprised if it doesn't. This is all conjecture. This is all guesswork. It's all theorizing. But there are channels out there. There are people out there on the forums especially, which the forum is never a good place for information. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's a mess. But it's one of those things where if somebody tells you that something's confirmed and Netmarble didn't confirm it, they're lying to you. They are trying to get you to click on their video. They are trying to get your views. They are trying to get your likes. They're trying to get your subs. They don't have any insider information. They don't have somebody that works at Netmarble that they're friends with. They don't have any confirmed information that nobody else has. And so if you take that for fact, then you're setting yourself up for failure and disappointment. It's just how it is. And I'm not going to name any names on this, but you gotta understand how this game works. That's why, again, I'm very careful when I talk about this stuff, and I try to tell you guys, hey, don't be setting your heart on this. Just be happy if it does happen. Now, as far as anything else goes with this update, the Pve Co-Op I'm very excited about, like I've said, because I want to work with you guys. I want to work with other YouTubers, friends of mine, on doing some Pve Co-Op. The fact that it's in beta is, it is what it is. I would rather them do a beta test run of it and then eventually release a proper working version that is going to not have any bugs in it than just tell us that, hey, this is what you get, and then we live with it like we do with other things in this game. So that's fine. But as far as anything else, there are a lot of updates that they talked about that we aren't going to be getting for a while, and I have ideas as to why. There's a lot of other misinformation going on out there, or at least people worried about the state of the game. Don't worry about it. There's a lot of stuff in the background at Netmarble going on right now that a lot of people don't realize that has nothing to do with King of Fighters All-Star. There's some moving around of parts and people, and there's a lot of things going on there. So there was also, and I've talked to Steven about this as well, the Korean side of the game, the community there did not necessarily care for the format of their live streams. They did not in particular like the fact that they would bring in like celebrities, like the idols that they would bring in, and the ladies. Believe it or not, the eye candy was not working. And people were not necessarily very keen on all of that. In fact, people wanted it to change, so it changed. So don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Don't read between the lines on that. It is what it is. Enjoy the game. We've already covered this in the past. Netmarble and SNK just signed an extension on the contract for this game. This game is fine, at least for the near future. That could always change down the road. Now, as far as the SS characters, most of my issues with the SS banner have been alleviated by this dev note we've already talked about, so I don't have a lot of complaints. But going back to collabs and circling back around, I am more excited about the SS banner than I would have been collab. Arguably. Depends on what it would have been. If it would have been something I like for once, that would have been one thing. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. I play this game for King of Fighters. I play this game for SNK properties. I don't play this game to play with characters from some random anime. I don't play this game to play with wrestling fighters. I don't do this to do anything other than enjoy King of Fighters. And therefore, if I'm getting the choice of either a collab with a bunch of characters that I don't care about or a smaller batch of characters that are going to be characters I do care about, I'm going to pick the latter over the former 10 times out of 10. So this to me is more exciting. Now, I know a lot of people out there, collabs are what they live and die for in this game, and that's fine. That's up to you. That's your prerogative. Everybody has their preference. But I'm not one of those people. So therefore, to me, this is great. Now, the part of the reason this is great is because going back to when we used to get nothing but FES gender bends, they are finally listening to us and giving us characters that not only we voted for these two. Maybe you didn't personally, but the majority of people did. We voted for these characters. They're giving them to us as FES versions of themselves, but not only that, but they're giving us these SS versions that are just that much stronger than regular FES. These are going to be probably on par with BS fighters, and we're complaining. Where's the sense in this? It doesn't make sense to me. I am not as upset with Netmarble at this point as I am with some of the people that are just... They can't do anything to please you. There's nothing that they could do to please some people. and you can't please everyone. But good God, we gotta draw a line somewhere, right? And so, do I agree that it's perfect implementation? Well, no. But at the same time, we have been spoiled with the unified banner for so long, and we have gotten to the point where we've depended upon the fact that we're going to have all these characters in this pool, and it has really generous rates, and this, that, and the other thing. Well, I'm here to tell you guys, I've played 10 to 15 different gacha games in my life, and I've known people that have played far more than me, and the rates in this game are way better than 99% of those games. And this game is way more free-to-play friendly than those games ever could dream of being. Now, whether you believe that or not, yes, there can always be improvements, but that's a fact. So don't sit there and complain for no reason when there's other things you could be complaining about that are far more important, that do warrant complaint. Like, if people who play PvP want to complain about the fact that they don't have any plans in the future of putting rubies into the rewards again, complain about that, because that's something worth complaining about. That is worth your complaint. But to sit there and complain about just this random little details, it makes no sense. Now, I do get it. It's partially their fault because they did spoil us with the unified banner, but put it this way. Gacha games live and die on banners. This, for so long when we lived on the unified banner, was a blessing. And we should be thankful we had the time with it that we did for all these characters, but they were eventually going to adjust back to the norm, which is banners, because that's just gacha. Gacha's gonna gacha. If you don't like that, then guess what? You probably don't like gacha games that much, which is fine, but don't blame King of Fighters All-Star for being a gacha game, because that's what it is. You can't sit there and hold that against it. Now, the biggest thing, and I did complain about this in the original edit of this video, was going to be the time frame on these banners, because 1 week for a banner, that is a problem, but that's been fixed. Could it be longer than 2 weeks? Well, I think so. I think it would be better if it were. But at the same time, that is definitely a far cry from what we had with the BS banner. And to be honest with you, if it's going to be working the same way as far as the rates and the pity and all of that, then this is great. This is awesome. And the fact that we are going to have the ability to some way, shape, or form make memories for these characters so that we don't have to pull, all these dupes constantly. Again, fantastic news. Now, would I have liked for them to have given us a timeline on that? Well, yeah. But at the same time, it is what it is. At least we know to expect it. It at least tells us, okay, now we can stop at Awakening level 3 or 4 or whatever we want to stop at, and we can be okay for a little while, and we'll have an option in the future. So that is pretty much, I want to say, my overall thoughts on all of this stuff. I'm pretty sure that I've covered everything as far as this goes, as far as the different controversies and so on and so forth. I don't want to hammer on Travis and the global side too much, otherwise I could go back in on that and talk all day about how dumb that was. But to summarize, guys, be thankful. Yes, this is kind of a mid-update. I will say that. That is one big complaint I have. This is kind of a mid-update to the point where it's like, we're not getting a whole lot. But at the same time, it's at least an update. It is 2 new characters that everybody's been begging for. And I feel like the excitement level versus the controversy level, it doesn't make any sense. It is far outweighing what it should be. And at the end of the day, this is just a game. And if for somebody like me who does this as basically a part-time job at this point with the amount of hours that I put into this channel and the amount of effort that I put in, if I'm not up in arms, if other YouTubers are not up in arms, if we're all kicking back and going, yeah, you know what, it could be better, but this isn't that bad. It's, we got gripes, we can complain about them, and, it's only for the betterment of the game. Netmarble, as we know, is listening to what we say. Then that's fine, that's healthy, but to just completely ignore the good for the negative, that is not healthy. And I feel like as a rule of thumb in life, and this is where I go Dr. Phil on you, but I feel like as a rule in life, we all tend to dwell more on the negative than the positive, and that isn't healthy, like I've said, and we really need to break that habit, because if you really sit down and you were to write out a list, right? Write out a list of the pros versus the cons, the good versus the bad. You're probably going to find that the good outweighs the bad. It's just that the bad tends to dwell more on our minds than the good. But at the same time, we need to recognize it for what it is, be thankful that we have a dev team that at least tries to listen, that at least tries to improve, that at least tries to take what we have to say into account, and they do put those things out there. But anyway, guys, those are my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments section. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. We will be back tomorrow with a new video, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.
Our opinions